Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Right now, there is a massive, viral debate raging online about modern childhood behavior. Everywhere you look, people are asking the exact same question. Are we raising a generation of arrogant, entitled kids? Well, today, we're going to unpack the psychology behind all of this, look at the actual data, and separate the internet illusion from reality.
This whole conversation basically exploded out of nowhere recently, all thanks to a 10-year-old boy. Just a fifth grader. He went absolutely viral after going on the television show Kaun Banega Crorepati. During the episode, this kid point-blank tells the legendary host, Amitabh Bachchan, that he already knows the rules and that the host shouldn't even bother trying to explain them to him. No way, right? As you can imagine, that clip sparked an absolute wave of outrage, with everyone shouting, "Are kids today just ruder than ever before?"
I mean, when the host asked if his answer should be locked, this kid confidently shot back, "Put 4 locks on it if you want to, but lock it up." Boom. It's sharp, it's punchy, and for a lot of viewers at home, it was incredibly jarring to hear a child speak like that to an elder. It immediately led to thousands of adults totally trolling this kid online. They jumped straight to blaming his parents for failing to teach him basic humility, essentially branding the boy as a spoiled, overconfident brat.
But hold on a second. Before we rush to judge this one child, or totally write off modern parenting as a whole, we really need to talk about a fascinating bias in social psychology. It's called the kids these days effect. It turns out, we adults suffer from this built-in memory illusion where we totally idealize our own pasts. We remember our childhoods as this golden age where everyone was perfectly behaved and deeply respectful. And because of this mental trick, every single generation inherently feels like the newest generation is less intelligent, less respectful, and just completely undisciplined.
And honestly, this creates a truly mind-blowing historical loop. Adults have quite literally been complaining about this exact same thing for thousands of years. I'm serious. All the way back in 700 BC, ancient Greek authors, even guys like Aristotle, were writing about how the youth didn't respect their aging parents. Jump forward to the 1750s, and you've got English writer Samuel Johnson noting that every old man complains of the rising generation's insolence. And today, well, we just do our complaining on social media.
Now, while that historical bias is absolutely real, we can't ignore the facts on the ground. There are unique, modern shifts happening right now that are causing real behavioral friction. For starters, developmental psychology tells us that kids under 10 naturally overestimate their knowledge. They literally lack the brain development to gauge what they don't know. Combine that with a shift to smaller nuclear families, meaning fewer adults around to model etiquette, plus the severe social isolation from the COVID-19 pandemic and parents generally overvaluing their kids, it's a perfect storm. Bad habits are inadvertently encouraged, and often children are just mirroring the rude behavior they see us adults doing.
We also really have to highlight a massive demographic shift happening in urban areas today. It's known as the six-pocket syndrome. This happens in single-child families, where you have 6 adults, that's 2 parents and 4 grandparents, all completely coddling and fulfilling every single demand of just one child. This extreme level of attention creates a deep, deep sense of entitlement. These kids are treated like little royalty at home, getting whatever they want the second they want it. But the problem is, eventually they step out into the real world and get a very harsh reality check that the universe doesn't actually revolve around them.
And that brings us to a staggering piece of data. To put this into perspective, a 2022 poll by Tweak India found that an astonishing 93% of Indian parents admitted they actively struggle with disciplining their children. Think about that. Modern parents have become literally terrified of saying the word no. So when you combine that six-pocket syndrome with parents who are paralyzed by the thought of setting firm boundaries, you create this environment where children just never learn self-control or how to handle uncomfortable situations with any kind of calm.
Because parents are struggling so much to set those boundaries, we're seeing a really intense counter-movement emerging online. Right after that KBC video went viral, reels started circulating, some pulling in hundreds of thousands of likes, literally demanding we bring back corporal punishment. You read the comments, and people are claiming that disrespectful behavior is a disease and that a belt is the absolute only treatment. A huge section of society genuinely believes that because we aren't physically hitting kids anymore, they are becoming irreversibly spoiled. But here's the thing. Science paints a completely different picture of that approach. We have to understand the vast difference between compliance and respect. Corporal punishment only achieves compliance. The child shuts up out of sheer fear, sure, but they learn absolutely nothing about why the behavior is actually wrong. They just learn to hide their bad behavior better so they don't get caught, which, ironically, sparks curiosity about forbidden acts like smoking later in life. True respect, on the other hand, comes from understanding the logic behind a rule. That's what actually leads to internalizing good values and creating long-term behavioral change.
There's also a pretty dark irony here that we need to point out. Hitting kids ultimately backfires. When children are subjected to corporal punishment at home, they learn a really dangerous lesson, that violence, aggression, and threats are the correct, acceptable ways to exercise power in the real world. So instead of creating a polite, well-adjusted child, you're very often fostering a much more aggressive adult who believes physical force is the only way to get what they want and handle conflict.
So you might be wondering, if we shouldn't totally coddle them, and we definitely shouldn't hit them, what exactly is the answer? Well, psychologists point to something called authoritative parenting. Now, it's absolutely crucial to separate this from authoritarian parenting, which is that old-school, extreme strictness based purely on fear. Authoritative parenting sits perfectly in the middle. It's a highly balanced approach, it provides a ton of warmth and love, but it pairs that affection with incredibly clear boundaries and logical explanations for why the rules actually exist.
Let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world. Imagine your child is having a massive meltdown over a toy in the middle of a crowded mall. Your first move is to model the calm behavior you want to see. Next, you get right down to their eye level and kindly explain the logic, maybe telling them it's just too expensive today. Then you establish a clear boundary, like we only buy one toy every 3 months. The hardest part? Maintaining that boundary calmly without giving in and without resorting to violence, all while treating them with basic dignity even while they're crying.
Bringing this all back to our 10-year-old on KBC, we really have to consider the intense environment he was dropped into. When that boy first made a slightly smart-aleck remark, the live audience laughed and clapped for him. To a 10-year-old brain, that applause is a massive incentive. It tells him, hey, I'm being cool and funny. So naturally, he leans right into it. Add to that the reality of television production, where hours of footage get compressed into just a few minutes, intentionally amplifying those rude moments because network executives know exactly what drives massive ratings and TRP.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we really need to take a hard look in the mirror. A 10-year-old child's natural developmental milestones and minor missteps were broadcast to an entire nation purely for entertainment, and it resulted in him being viciously trolled by grown adults. We really must ask ourselves, do we want a society that guides children toward quiet confidence through authoritative boundaries, or one where every youthful mistake is turned into a massive public spectacle? Ultimately, publicly shaming a 5th grader says a lot less about the arrogance of modern youth and a whole lot more about the empathy of us modern adults.